So welcome everybody to Trainer Talk Live, presented by the Personnel Board of Jefferson County. My name is Pete. I'm one of the trainers at the Personnel Board, along with Michael and Greg. And we sort of do these. We do these once a month. We sort of pick topics that are of interest to us, not just for local government, but also just around the whole mindset of how can we make you better as a leader? How can we share information with you that'll help you do better, whether it's in customer service, employee engagement, whatever it might be. And we've got a really fun topic to kind of talk to you about today. I found this report that came out almost maybe 6 to 8 months ago now from McKinsey and Company. And the name of the report is called Defining the Skills That Citizens Will Need in the Future World of Work. They interviewed and surveyed about 18,000 people over 15 different countries. And we got some really good data out of this. And none of this data is going to shock you. None of it is going to make you say, oh, but I think it's good for us to kind of think about, because it just reinforces some of the things that we do in our training department that Michael and Greg and I try to share with local government employees, and Kim and Isla and Taria, and just make sure that we're all future proofing our career to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So let's go ahead and throw a few of these things up that we're going to start with, and I'll kind of go to Greg first. This survey says that there's 3 foundational skills. Okay, number 1 is we need to figure out as employees how to add value beyond what can be done by automated systems and intelligent machines. Are you buying or selling there, Greg?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely buying what they're selling, because as government employees, we do have a responsibility to add value. And a lot of times we think that, we just throw technology at it. Well, technology is great, and we need to have a lot more technology in certain places. But even with more technology, how do we add the value? The monitor is not going to add the value. It's going to streamline some things. So how do we add the value as the employee, as the person that's touching the customer? That's giving that exceptional service that wants people to come back and do business with our department. So those are the things that we have to do, and technology can't be the be all do all in that space.
Now, Michael, it's kind of ironic, because the skill 1 is add value beyond the machines, but skill 2 is saying, but don't forget to operate in a digital environment.
Absolutely.
So it's telling us to do both, I guess.
It is. And because that's the way of the world, the digital environment is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to advance. The digital environment is really just moving at such a fast rate. And if we don't keep up as individuals with what's going on, we're going to be left behind. Yep. So as we're trying to add value individually, and as we're trying to invest in people and add value, you better keep up with what's going on, or you'll just be left behind. So we have to use that digital piece along with who we are to add value. And if you miss out on the digital, you're going to be left in the Stone Age. So
right. If you're only people skills, you might be okay. If you're only digital skills, you might be okay. You need both again. And that's what I think skill 3 tells us, guys, is just to continually adapt to new ways of working. Absolutely. And new occupations, some of these different jobs. So as you're watching us out there, whether you're on LinkedIn Live or maybe on YouTube or on Facebook, if you want to comment, share your thoughts. If we throw a question out there, what do you think? We'll be happy to address that. We've got all of our sites up here, so we can kind of go through some of these. So let's get started, gentlemen. Let's get to the meat, because again, we don't want to go too long today. These normally last between 40 and 45 minutes, but this could be a whole 3-hour session.
Workshop. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's kind of throw some of these up. So let me take this banner down. So what they did was they went ahead and combined all of these skills. There are 56 foundational skills that will help citizens thrive in the future of work. Now, they call them deltas. Because some of them are skills, and some of them are traits, and some of them are attitudes. So they came up with this word called delta, which stands for distinct elements of talent. Distinct elements of talent. So they went ahead and grouped all these. And when you look at this, you're going to go, okay, 56 of these deltas and 13 skill groups and 4 categories. So I've got to know all this? I mean, maybe, maybe. I mean, but I think it's less about learning all 56 of these and finding out, we're big on soar with your strengths and strengths finding and all that stuff. So like, which of these do you think are important today? And again, if you're watching on LinkedIn and Facebook live right now, please comment any of these that you see under the cognitive area. Give us your thoughts of which you think are going to be most important. So, Michael, I'll start with you. Looking here under cognitive, which of these jump out at you and you're like, man, this is a no-brainer. We have to become better at this.
To me, the no-brainer is critical thinking, because until now, that is something that's not taught. The formal education doesn't teach us how to critically think. It's really, I'm not even sure they even really teach us to think. They say memorize this, check A, B, C, or D. They just want us to memorize. So from a critical thinking standpoint, how do I come up with a solution? How do I come up with the best solution? So that's the number one thing from the cognitive side. We've really got to look for ways to do this. And today there's some really great things. I mean, you can go to a library, you can listen to a lot of podcasts. People are really putting a lot of time and emphasis on thinking right now. I mean, it's really the buzzword for me. I mean, that's what I'm looking for right now. Yeah. So I see it a lot. People are talking about thinking and how to come up with problem solving. So that's real big to me right now. Yeah. But you don't learn it. If you're going back to school now for an advanced degree, you're probably going to get that. But in the past, we haven't picked up on that before.
Excellent. Greg, which one jumps out at you, buddy?
Everything in communication, Pete. From public speaking, that has to be a priority. Asking the right questions. The skill of asking open-ended questions to get people to communicate it and just express themselves is a key component. I think we all need to have active listening. Wow. So many people are ready to respond rather than listening to the person that is speaking, for the points and ideas before they say something. Yeah. And then the last one, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more, synthesizing message. How do I listen to somebody give me 5 or 6 points and then come together with, this is what you're expressing? And how do we take those 5, 6 points and have an innovative idea or a way that we're going to move everybody forward to accomplish those things? So communication is the one that stands out to me.
Right. Yeah. And if I can add one there, I think active listening. I think active listening is one of the most important. Oh, did you cover that one?
Yeah. We
keep going, Pete.
Yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I wasn't listening. See, that's funny. Is that not? That's a little fun. Okay, that's not very funny, maybe. Okay, so yeah, no, I agree with you on listening. Listen, the whole definition of mental flexibility here. And again, we work in government, gentlemen, and so we know what some of the struggles are when police and fire and public safety and parks and recs and sewers and all this stuff. You're just doing the job, the technical side of your job. And now we're saying, how about creativity? How about imagination? How about storytelling? You're like, what in the world does that have to do with anything? Well, in fact, I did a lunchtime learning blast yesterday, surprisingly enough, on leadership soft skills. And a lot of the ones that I covered were storytelling and creativity and innovation. So these new ways of thinking, I think, are going to be really important for all of us. Greg, let's start with the next one, which is interpersonal. Again, we like this kind of stuff. We tend to live in the world of extroversion. We tend to live in the world of, sharing, our emotional intelligence and all of that. What do you see here?
The teamwork effectiveness. How do I pull everyone together to be inclusive? We're going different ways, but how do I help focus, my team to move together towards something? And then, the different personalities on the team. Yeah. And you have the stars, you have the people that are retired and thinking about retiring. You have the new person that's just coming on board with all the ideas. How do I handle all those personalities and the conflicts that may come? How do we resolve those things to make sure the team is moving? So teamwork effectiveness is one I think every organization has to focus on.
Okay. Like that. Michael, what about you, buddy?
Hey, developing relationships, getting involved and knowing the people that are around you, having some empathy, putting yourself in their shoes, finding out what it's all about. This morning we had a conversation about EI, emotional intelligence, and that's the way to go. More so than the academics is just being able to socially be involved and know what's going on, and having some humility. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes, but being humble enough to, first of all, get over yourself and listen to other people. And when you do that, when you invest in other people, then you're going to get that trust. You're going to inspire trust, which is so important when it comes to keeping a job, but getting other jobs when you build that trust. So developing relationships is extremely important.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump into win-win negotiations there. We, again, local government, we're very hierarchical. Whatever the chief says, whatever the deputy director says, whatever. I mean, it's kind of, this is how we're going to do it. And there's a lot of times where departments don't work well together and someone has to give more than others. If you can brand yourself as an employee that helps get people to the table, that helps negotiate. Negotiating is a skill. We think about negotiating when we're buying cars or when we're, buying a house or trying to improve our salary. But you can also negotiate in the workplace. It truly is a skill to get to win-win outcomes. I think that's kind of one for me. All right, self-leadership, y'all. Don't get me started on this. I mean, this is something that all of us believe in. Michael, your emotional intelligence there was around understanding your own emotions and triggers, things like that. But I'm going to throw in here self-confidence. That's the one that is important to me as we grow. And I think I'm going to stereotype here, but in my opinion, I think a lot of the younger generation is coming into the workforce now between the ages of 21 and 30 have the self-confidence. Yeah. I think that they're like, I can do this. I can do anything. I was raised, that I can do a whole lot of good things. Whereas some of us who have been here a while are still questioning ourselves and can we accomplish this? And am I good enough? And kind of all of this. So I think the more that you build your self-confidence, not cockiness, but self-confidence, I think that is a strength of leadership that people are going to need. Greg, what do you take off this list?
In the entrepreneurship category, driving change and innovation, I think so many times government employees think that we can't be innovative.
Yeah.
And we have this restrictions and we're limited, but we don't take the time to really think outside of the box to see how can we do it inside of the policies and procedures that we have. How do we create something new? How do we make it more engaging? How do we provide more efficiency within the framework of what we have to work with? And I think we have to, and these leaders that are coming in have to have that mindset of that entrepreneurial spirit of, hey, we can tweak this and make it better and make it more efficient. And government can be fun and exciting and innovative.
Agreed. I'm with you. Michael, which one do you like on that about self-leadership?
Well, we go down to self-development, lifetime learning, and you develop yourself to take you got to define where you are, and then you've got to grow from where you are. So take ownership of where you are, take ownership of where your team is, and you've got to grow yourself, grow your team, and you've got to be persistent. You've got to continue to grow, be resilient in where you are. And in today's world, especially with the uncertainty of everything, you've got to be able to adjust. You've got to be able to sometimes spin on a dime and go a different direction and not be set in, well, we're going this way regardless. So you've got to be able to move and shake and go where you need to go to be successful.
I'll let you take us into this, Mike, because we talk about self-development, again, not to hashtag humble brag, but we do a pretty good job at the training department of providing opportunities for self-development. Now, this is just the basics. These are just our basic training classes that are offered. And what I did, gentlemen, was I went ahead and highlighted some of the ones that I think align with what the report tells us. So you can see probably about 60% of the training classes we offer are helping you future-proof your career with the skills. We've got some other things in here like, some legal stuff and maybe some networking and self-growth that may not align. But actually, I'm sure I could find a way to make all of these align with this, except for a lot of the digital competencies. So, Michael, when you say self-development, you're also just reminding people, don't forget that in addition to our lunchtime learning blast, our trainer talks, grow yourself through one of our certificate programs.
Absolutely. You go through these certificate programs, and if you happen to be joining us and you're not in the merit system, one of the things that we offer our merit system employees goes right along with this article. I mean, we're offering opportunities for people to learn these skills that are going to keep them adapted and keep them able to keep a career. But I would suggest that you do something very, very similar and offer something where they can, because we have training that's involved that's going to keep them on the cutting edge. That's going to, and we as trainers stay on the cutting edge. We change this up and we try to stay up to date with what's happening today. So these aren't 8, 10, 12 years old. The titles may be, but the training is very, very current. And we move and we keep people in the know so they're ready to move into to 2022, 2023 and forward.
And beyond. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. This is our struggle area. And this is where, again, I struggle with. I'm not sure where you all stand, but they've got a whole Delta quadrant here on digital literacy, digital ethics, software use, computational and algorithmic
thinking.
Cyber, the only cybersecurity literacy I know is when our IT team sends out something that says, "Pete, you shouldn't have clicked on that." Right. Now you have to watch this. You have to watch this video. So walk us through this, because a general employee who, like, I get the cognitive stuff, I get the interpersonal stuff, I'm a really good leader, but now you're telling me that I've got to be ready about AR and VR and tell me why. Any thoughts on this? Greg?
Yeah, I think because we're moving into the AI, all of the areas. When we think about how we shop today, in order for Walmart, Target, whoever to have what we need, they're monitoring what we purchase. And the supply chain is delivering it back. So when we have customers that are coming into certain areas, what are they purchasing? How are they purchasing? Are more people using credit cards these days than cash? Mm-hmm. If so, do we have more terminals that can handle digital payments? What's the age of the people that are responding to us? And so we've got to look at these things in government and say, hey, artificial intelligence is telling us that people want to be able to do things online. Are we set up to handle those things in the way that we're delivering our content? Can people go online and make purchases for tags and pay taxes and do probate courts and things like that? And so if we're not in that digital space yet as a government and as leadership, we're going to be behind. And another thing is we're not going to be able to monitor what our customer needs when they need it. And so I think this particular space is one that we really have to get our hands on as we move forward.
I was speaking to a group of city clerks a couple months ago, and I said, are any of you accepting cryptocurrency in your cities for things like car payments or things like, business licenses, all of that? And out of like 110 people, I think one hand went up. Everyone turned to that person and said, what? And they said, yeah, because we have to figure this out. Now, again, I'm not sitting here pro or against cryptocurrency, but is it something that we have to look into? Is it something that we have to figure? I mean, I don't know, but this is something I think all of us need to kind of focus on. So
Pete, if we go back to that slide, we're doing the digital learning. I think we're starting now to see the digital ethics in it. How do we make sure people that are coming to class and pay attention and get credit for the classes they attend? Do they participate the entire time? And how do so some of those things in that digital space and that digital learning is where government has to look as well.
Yeah, ethics is very black and white before the quote unquote digital age, whenever that is. But now again, does it become more gray on
Yeah.
what I'm doing? So yeah, good point. Good point. This all
Great
kind of tracks together. So again, your IT department, your creative thinking department, your chief information officer for your organization needs to be looking at this. Now, this doesn't mean all of us need to go out and learn how to code, and all of us don't have to go learn HTML or C plus or C plus plus or C plus plus plus, because that's even better. 4 pluses, it's a C plus plus plus. But I don't think we have to learn that, but I think we have to be aware. I
Yeah.
think we have to understand smart systems. I think we have to look for the best technology. Here's a great example, gentlemen. You and I do this all the time. There used to be one type of audience polling for our training classes, and it was called Turning Technologies. And we bought the clickers, and we've got all the clickers, still in our closet back there, 50 of them, and you take a USB drive and you put it in. Well, within the past 18 months, there are probably 10,
Right,
if not more, audience participation tools available where people use their phones.
Yeah.
And we're having a hard time keeping, but by the time we learn one, another one comes out and says, but we do this, but we do this. So if that's happening for us in the training field, imagine how that's happening with financial software or human resources software or, stuff like that. So not to minimize us, but I mean, we're trainers, it's that bad. All right, so let's keep going. And again, thank you all for watching. If you're watching live, let's get to the good stuff on kind of how this affects you as a future employee. So take a look at this. This was the respondents' proficiency in this survey. Again, just if you're joining us late, McKinsey & Company survey, 18,000 employees, 15 different countries, the future of work. What skills do you need? And this one says, here are the scores of the 2 lowest skill groups in the digital category was software use and development and understanding digital systems. But also up top, it's so funny, the lowest scores were communication and planning and ways of work. I tell you guys, we could make $1 million. How many times do we hear people when we say, what's your biggest issue in your city, in your department, in your this? And they say the dreaded C word, communication. And so here it is still saying, I'll tell you, if we could ever get workplace communication fixed, I think we'd all be out of a job because they wouldn't need us anymore. Anything else jump out of here that you guys want to share before we move along to the next one? You feel good with this one?
Yep.
Okay, Michael, take this one for me, because what this one tells us is specifically regarding education. Okay, so let me go ahead and kind of read this out loud to you. It said that when it comes to education, okay, there is a association between some skills. The higher the education you have, the more education you have, the better you have some of these skills. But there's also a negative coefficient, Michael. What does this show us about the negative coefficient of education?
All right. What it's telling us is that the higher the education, the lower humility you have. That was amazing. And then the second to that is inspiring trust. So the more educated you are, you tend to be cocky, I guess. I guess that's what it's saying, because we have no humility based on these 18,000 people that is talking about that they surveyed. The humility just ranked very, very low because we're so educated. I'm going to let you know how educated I am, I suppose. And then the thing that really surprised me, that didn't surprise me as much as inspiring trust, because once I was educated, it seems like I would know that I needed trust, but that ranked very low. From the more education I have, inspiring trust ranked really low, and I don't see how that worked, but hey, that's what the survey says.
Survey says.
That's right. But it is hilarious. The more educated you are, your humility just gets the best of you. So you're out there just letting everybody know.
I've got a PhD. I've got 3 certifications. I've got a master's degree. I've got this. I've got that. I have now, Pete, you told me to go out and get the education, the expertise. I've got it. But don't let these 2 people skills of humility and inspiring trust go by the wayside, right, Greg? I mean, trust building, it's a key component, isn't it?
It is. I mean, that's the That's the foundation of it, your credibility, you know. And it's funny. I don't know if you're showing the next graph, but you see digital literacy is high. The more education I have, I can use digital literacy. But the next graph showed that my digital ethics, was very low.
Yeah.
It was at the bottom, and I'm like, wow. So, how do I throw trust and ethics, out the window with more education?
Yeah. I did not screenshot that one, but yes. So it's ironic how those go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So y'all keep that in mind. All right, here's our big finish, y'all. We got 3 points for you all, and I think these 3 points are going to help you get a job that you like, get the most money you can get out of it, have higher job satisfaction, keep your job. And again, it's kind of a buyer's market right now. We kind of talk about this a lot in terms of, housing, is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? I think right now, from an employee workplace point of view, it's kind of a buyer's market, because we've got employees who are saying, I can work anywhere, I can do anything, I can go anywhere. If I don't like this job, I'll move somewhere else. So we have to do a lot of this good leadership stuff to make sure that we're protecting our good employees and all that. But also, the curve will eventually shift. So we got to make sure that you are prepared. So let's take a look at these. According to the deltas, and again, if you joined us a little bit late, delta stands for distinct elements of talent. It's both a skill and an attitude mixed together. So the chances of you having a higher likelihood of employment, keeping your employment longer. Here's the top 3: adaptability, coping with uncertainty, and synthesizing messages. Let's think about that for a second. And again, if you're watching us and you want to put a comment out there, whatever you want to do, but think about this. You, as an employee, you want to keep your job the longest in any sort of field. You've got to be adaptable. You've got to cope with uncertainty, and you have to synthesize messages. I'm going to put you guys on the spot. Each of you take one of those. Tell me what that means to you and how we can use that both in government, but maybe also in the private sector. Greg, which one do you want?
I'll take synthesizing messages. How do I take the main concepts of what's going on in my department or where we're moving with a project, and how do I develop a course of action or a main idea to move my team towards, those 3 or 5 or 10 different main points that I've got to accomplish in that particular thing. So how do I read those things and come up with a main idea to move everybody forward? That's synthesizing messages.
Taking a lot of information and putting it into a nice manageable chunk that people will understand. Part of that probably goes back to our speed of work. We're moving so fast from meeting to meeting I need you to take it all in, and then throw it back up to me in bite-sized chunks.
So that my team can understand where we're going and what we're going to do with it.
Yep. Good skill. Michael, which of the last 2 you like?
Coping with uncertainty, because it's just so many things are hitting us all at one time. We don't know what's going to come next. So you have to be, I don't want to mix it up with adaptability because that's next, but you've got to be flexible. You've got to be flexible when things come, rather than going, oh, I didn't expect that. You've got to be able to kind of expect the unexpected all the time. And you've got to be able to cope with that. Whatever comes my way, it's going to be okay. I've got good people. I can think for myself and go back to that critical thinking I was talking about. We can come up with a solution. So I can deal with this. Nothing's going to take me down today because I can overcome it. So being resilient, being able to deal with whatever comes, that is so important. And if you can do that, if you can just have a mindset that whatever comes today, I can overcome it, you're going to be able to stay employed and you'll be doing very well.
You brought me into an old song there. For ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Nothing's gonna hold me down. Oh no! Going back to the '80s. There, they've got their definition of coping with uncertainty as the ability to operate effectively in situations with high uncertainty when things don't go according to plan.
Right.
Have all of us had skill over the past 24 months?
Yeah.
In coping with uncertainty.
Yeah.
So this is a skill that all of us have been applying, recently. So we should be as good at it as possible. And like you said, adaptability ties in with that. You think back, I think back to my dad, who was a vice president of marketing of a bank, and how he didn't have computers. And I would always ask him, what do you what did you do? I can't envision going to work with no computer on my desk. He's like, well, we had meetings and we had people taking notes and we had doing stuff. And that was probably very, very the same for the most part every day. But then as change has caught up to us, whether it's through the World Wide Web or through digital access or through now pandemic and remote work and all that, can you adapt? And I think as leaders, as a skill, if you're the person who puts their feet in the ground and says, I'm going to do it the old way, we're not going to do this. Here's a great example. We're pushing out performance management profiles and annual reviews in our Workday system. Well, the way we're doing it with each agency in each city is to say you have to turn off the old one and turn on the new. Like there almost can't be we'll give you 18 months to kind of figure this out, because people don't like change. They just don't like change. And so they have to be able to adapt. So I think adaptability is a great one. All right, let's go to the next one. So that was keeping your job. Now let's talk about making more money. And I know in civil service, our jobs are graded and they have certain pay scales, and we don't, it's all out there for us. But take a look at this one. It says, if you're proficient in these deltas, it's linked to higher income. Top 3 are work plan developments, org awareness, and self-confidence. So Michael, I'll let you take the first one, this one. Which one do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about organizational awareness.
Okay.
So if you know why your organization exists, and then why each part of the organization exists, and why your job exists and how it relates to other parts of the organization, you're going to be able to add more value, because so many people know what their job is, but they don't know how it adds value to the other parts. So if you know how if you've got all the ingredients and you know how all the ingredients make the end result, you're going to be much better off. And that's going to help you understand how the whole piece works. And when people realize that you know A to Z, or you know how the whole thing works, then they're going to see how valuable you are. And then you start getting promoted because you see how it works. And then the income is going to come to you because of that value.
They define the proficiency level here for organizational awareness as individuals who understand the organizational procedures, the roles, and the decisions, both formal and informal, that are typically involved. So this is very much, how do you eliminate the silos? How do you say, well, you don't need to learn that, you don't need to know that? Part of it, in my mind, Michael, is probably office politics. Because what are the informal norms? What are the unwritten rules of how things get done around here? A really good person understands that organizational awareness. And, we've got some people who go, I don't play office politics. I don't do that. Well, then you may not get more income. I'm not saying you have to play more politics, but you got to understand. You got to understand how it works. Tiffany, thank you for watching us on Facebook Live, says coping with uncertainty is the new normal. It's the new normal. Absolutely. Greg, what do you think? Work plan developments or self-confidence?
Self-confidence. I think that goes into how I self-develop. Am I gaining the skills needed to be that person in the office that's reliable, or outside of my organization? Am I the person that has the solution, or that can come up with solutions or provide the solutions? So that self-confidence is, hey, bring the tough tasks to me, and I can deliver. And I think that's a part of that problem solving and critical skills and thinking, that if I'm on that team and I'm viewed as a person that's confident and has the ability to get the job done, I think that's going to help me to stand out amongst my peers and to get the recognition to where, hey, that's a person that you really need to help you lead an organization or change the culture in an organization.
Yeah, just like we talked earlier, man, self-confidence. I mean, not that organizations aren't looking for wallflowers, but with how fast things are changing and how fast things are happening, you want to gain more income. Boy, you you have a certain gravitas that you can handle just about anything. I'll talk real quick about work plan developments. And to be honest, when this popped up, we were like, well, what does that mean? So let me share exactly what this means according to the survey. The definition of work plan developments is this: the ability to identify, group, and sequence the tasks needed to achieve a certain goal, and then to assign deadlines and responsibilities. Now, ironically, I didn't highlight delegating our delegating class.
Right.
And now that I've read this, I probably should have.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about work plan development, this is not sitting back and going, we should open a new restaurant. We should have a new franchise. We should add a new training class. We should change our HR system. We should buy 2 new fire trucks. There has to be, you've got to look at all the things that come in. You have to identify them, group them, sequence them, and then figure out what's right and what's wrong. Do some yourself, delegate some others. So developing a work plan, almost like, I guess I could have highlighted on our
Project management.
Project management. Planning. I should highlight more. Man, we're good. Man, we're good. So yeah, we definitely need to kind of work on this. All right, we are coming up on time, so let's get to this last one. So let's go back for a second, y'all. We talked about these deltas, or these skills and attitudes, will help you keep your job, higher employment levels. Then we talked about these 3 around higher income. Now let's talk about job satisfaction. Pete, forget everything else. I just live in a world where I want to be happy at work. I want to add value. I want to feel like I'm part of something greater. They say, again, that these 3, I think, wasn't coping with uncertainty also,
and self-confidence. Yep.
That was it was also under keep your employment for coping with uncertainty, as well as job satisfaction. So we can skip that one. We've kind of talked. So apparently coping with uncertainty is the new normal and a necessary skill for job satisfaction, for keeping your job, all that. Greg, you want to do self-motivation and wellness, or oh, you know what? We did self-confidence also.
We did.
Yeah.
Well, let's just talk about self-motivation and what. Let me find it. You guys start talking while I find the definition. What do you think it means, self-motivation and wellness there? Michael, we'll start with you.
All right. Self-motivation and wellness. You got to be motivated. You have to find within yourself. You and the core of who you are have to be motivated, and you've got to be willing to take the next step. You've got to keep moving forward. You've got to get outside your comfort zone, because that's where success is.
Yep.
You got to walk outside the edge there, and I'll leave it because we're going to be talking, all 3 of us, I guess, will talk about the same thing.
Right.
Stay on the outside of your comfort zone. Greg, take it from there.
Yeah, and I taught motivation last week.
Yeah.
So I was talking about, well, what inspires you to do what you do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what is it? Yeah, we always talk about money. It's the paycheck, and I want more money, but money is not the thing that inspires you. In fact, I asked the question in the group, if I gave you $10,000 more to do what you currently do, but I want you to come down the street and do it, would you leave your current, because you like what you do in your current position? Would you go down the street and do it? And most of the people say, yeah. You're paying me $10,000 more. I said, but what inspired you to do that? That's the thing that's motivating. It's not the money. Money is good to have, but there's got to be something bigger than that drives you to do what you do.
Right. Because what if the culture was different there? What if your leader was different? What if your benefits were different? What if the organizational culture? Now, yeah, you've got 10 grand, but what? So here's the definition that they've got, and this ties into what we're doing right now. Self-motivation and wellness is the ability to maintain high motivation and high energy by knowing and pursuing your personal long-term goals and restorative activities. So again, you want your personal long-term goals to tie in with the workplace long-term goals. It says here, individuals know which activities give them energy and long-term purpose to keep them motivated. This is an example. Hopefully you 2 guys like doing trainer talks, because when you talk about purpose and when we talk about getting into something that motivates us, I like these bull sessions, for lack of a better word. I like us just, now, if someone said, if our boss came to us and said, Pete, you had 2 viewers or 5 or 10 or 12, whatever, please stop doing those. They're not getting enough bang for your buck. I mean, okay, but this ties into maybe my wellness because this restores me. I think we're making a difference in people's life. Maybe, this gives me high motivation. So, what are the things you all can do who are watching this in your lives where they give you purpose, they give you excitement? We all know the idea of callings, right? Callings come from healthcare, police, fire, social work. I have a calling into this business. But some of you maybe have a calling in government the calling was insurance, benefits, and that may not be as strong a calling. So where's the actual excitement coming from? Where are you getting your passion from? So let's go ahead and throw these all up. This is our summary slide. Again, this is, for employment, it was synthesized. Again, employment meaning people will you'll always have good jobs and opportunity for jobs if you can synthesize messages, cope with uncertainty, and be adaptable. Your income may progressively go up with your self-confidence. You can work, plan, develop, delegate all that, and organizational awareness. And you'll always be happy and job satisfied if you have self-confidence, you know how to cope with uncertainty, so you can compartmentalize stuff, but also you self-motivate. You do your personal wellness, you exercise, you do all that stuff, and you see that with it. Guys, what else about this final slide that brings you joy?
Personally, I think that if you could be satisfied where you work and you are self-motivated, you've got self-confidence, and you enjoy where you are, your momentum is going to take you to higher places, and you'll pretty much stay employed.
Yeah.
Even if where you work takes you down, if you have those things, if you have that passion within you, you're going to have a place. Yeah. And I also think that if something is going to happen where you are, where things are going to be eliminated, if you're satisfied in your job and you perform very, very well above the expectation, then they're going to choose to keep you as opposed to letting you go and pay you more, promote you into a position that they can keep. Yeah. So I want to encourage you to be your best every day, be better tomorrow than you are today. Yeah. And it's going to help you keep that employment for tomorrow, and just be better. Lifetime learners are going to succeed.
Yeah, because they're going to become more adaptable. They're going to have more self-confidence. They're going to cope with uncertainty. Greg, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think leaders should take a look at this and keep this in front of their team to say, here are some things that we, if we're not delivering this, let's find a way to incorporate this in what we're doing on a day-to-day or monthly, quarterly basis. And just remind people on our team, hey, we want you to be successful. And here's ways that, you can contribute. And here's the ways that the organization can contribute to everybody reaching, whatever it is that they want the outcome to be in their employment, et cetera.
Great points. My takeaway is, do we need to create a training class specifically around building your self-confidence? Sounds mushy, sounds soft. But if that is, 2 of the 3 have building your self-confidence as a skill that's needed, a trait, a delta, if you will, and then coping. I know a lot of us use behavioral health systems here in the Merit system. We've got things about how to cope, but again, with the uncertain times. But Greg, you're right. Here's 9 skills that Pete and Greg and Michael didn't come up with. Someone went out and did all the work for us. We're just happy to share it with you and help you get a little bit better.
I think what organizations need to do, Pete, in terms of creating that digital literacy thing, is how do I put these 9? How do I have a digital format in my organization where people on my team can go and get these 9 things and self-develop?
Absolutely.
Or you don't have to necessarily have facilitators to do it. Maybe there's a program out there where I can drive my team to it, and they can now. I'm investing the resources as an organization to help my team get better in these 9 areas.
Yep. I love it. Good point.
As individuals, there are places out there to get it. There's LinkedIn Learning. There's Goodwill. We just found that out a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Coursera. Yeah.
So start looking for those and then share those with your employer so everybody can get on to be better than what they are.
Excellent. Right. And always never forget, personnel board training We're here for you as well. If
That's
you
it.
watch this on YouTube, our YouTube channel, follow us, Personnel Board of Jefferson County on YouTube. Follow us, Personnel Board of Jefferson County on Facebook. You can, connect with us there. Whether you work for the merit system or not, we're happy to share some knowledge, some learning with you, help you grow and get better. So, gentlemen, great job. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for your thoughts. And everybody have a great day. We'll see you next time on Trainer Talk.
Take care.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's the song I was thinking.
That's the song.
Now we're gonna get blocked. They're gonna block us because of that.
Uh-oh.